Alors bonjour, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, partners, music lovers and festivals lovers. What times we are in, it is really hard to keep human links, and sometimes a bit of sense is missing. But we are here together in this space. I'm also glad to welcome many people from Deutschschweiz. That's why we are using the national language, English. As you already understood, this weekend is about breaking walls between our region, sharing, talk about solutions for next week and the months after. Tomorrow, the Soundwalk will take place, starting at 1 in the afternoon. For some of you, it's the morning. At Les Arches. The aim is to walk together, discover some artists and some place in Lausanne. We are also very glad to do it with Say Hi. And maybe Marcel Berry is here, so say hi to Marcel Berry. If you have any question of the activities of today or tomorrow, please ask us. I would like to thank deeply the whole team of Label Suisse to make this festival possible in those conditions, with a lot of last-minute trouble, stressful weeks, days, months, and also to thank my dream team of FCMA Swiss Music Export, the Groova team for the recording and the live stream, Kiwi TV, and also the Gotham Space here that welcome us from this morning. And last but not least, thank you, Elisabeth, to moderate this panel, and to the panelists. We have people here, we have people on Zoom. You can look at them here on the big screen. And maybe a special one to our friends from Quebec, because it's still early in the morning. We also have people following us from Cohorte, which is a digital platform. And it's a new project that I will introduce soon, as I need also to excuse Julien Fournier, who is sick, sadly. So I wish you a good conference and a lovely weekend. Thanks to all.
Thank you,
Elisabeth.
Bonjour, tout le monde m'entend? Parce que j'ai un super micro-cravate, je suis la seule à avoir ce privilège, donc je voulais être sûre que ça marchait. Juste en français, 2 mots. Je sais qu'il y a beaucoup de francophones dans la salle et peut-être aussi online. Pour des raisons évidentes de compréhension universelle, nous allons passer à notre nouvel espéranto. So I'm going to switch to English. It's a real pleasure to welcome you live and online. And it's a real pleasure to be here because of all the difficulties encountered. It's like a climax. And I would like to thank Label Suisse for holding on, and also Swiss Music Export, FCMA, also for holding on. And in fact, this panel is about how to keep on in difficult times. We are not going to find solution or to discuss solution, because that would be very pretentious, and I don't think there is at that stage. We are not going, or at least trying not to talk too much about money, because we keep talking about money, and let's talk about something else, something a bit more positive for once. So what we are going to do here is sharing experiences from different cultural actors, and through those sharing, trying to find if there is some positive effects, like side effects. So around this panel, we have Jennifer Jans. She is online, you can see her there. She's an art manager. She's responsible for the competition Demo Tape Clinic, that is part of the M4 Music Festival. And she's also part of B-Sides and a musician in the band Chien Bleu. Bleu Roi. I'm looking too much at the program. And on my left, Kinzer. He's head of culture for Lausanne city. He's been very active in the culture field for years. He's the ex-director of Festival de la Cité. So welcome. On my right, Paul Clement, who's got a French name but comes directly from London. He's the co-founder and co-CEO of Resident Advisor, a platform that supports and connects electronic music community. And on screen again, Alain Mongeau. Alain, say something so that we can see your face. We see Jennifer right now.
Hello, hello.
So here is Alain.
Hello.
You will miss his...
Hello from the other side of the ocean.
You will miss his delicious Québécois accent because he's going to talk in English. But so he's the general and artistic director of MUTEK. MUTEK is an organization active for the development of creativity in sound, music, and audiovisual. And then, last but not least, Albane Schlechten, that everybody knows, was head of FCMA and also in charge of half of Swiss music export. And she's replacing at the last minute Julien, her colleague Julien. So she's really the woman doing everything. Thank you, Albane. So now I'm moving to the participant. And also, I'm Elisabeth Stoudmann, sorry, music journalist working for Le Temps and running a platform called Show Me Forum. I'm now going to move to each participant, starting with Jennifer. So before Jennifer is going to talk, we are going to screen a very small video presenting all the four winners of the demo tape clinic. And Jennifer, can you quickly say the name of those four nominees?
Absolutely. It's Casanora from Bern. She's the winner of Electronic. Then Giulia Da Balla, winner Pop and Demo of the Year. Chien Bleu, winner Urban. And Yetno Yokai, winner Rock.
Okay, thank you.
Ich mache Musik eigentlich schon seit ich 17 bin. Ich habe angefangen dann mit Klavier spielen und habe das dann 13 Jahre lang gemacht. Und mit 16 habe ich angefangen, alles selber zu produzieren und seitdem mache ich das so.
C'est assez difficile de dire quand j'ai commencé avec la musique parce qu'apparemment je chantais avant de parler. Et c'était même écrit dans mes carnets que j'ennuyais mes camarades tellement je chantais à l'école.
Et je raconte un peu un quotidien, j'aime bien raconter justement le quotidien, des choses que je vois, mais avec une sorte de, peut-être un peu de poésie.
Das Preisgeld fließt in unsere Bandkasse. Im From Music Team bedanken wir uns herzlich für den Gewinn und für die Durchführung trotz der momentanen Umstände. Vielen Dank.
That was a video in every Swiss language, nearly. So Jennifer, how did you manage to do this demo tape clinic that is normally taking part live during the M4 Music Festival?
So just a quick word about the demo tape clinic. It's, as you just said, part of the M for Music, which is by the Miko's cultural percentage. It should have taken place this March, and it's basically the biggest competition for new talent, new Swiss talent, and there's about 850 applications per year. So yeah, we had to, it was quite a difficult situation because we had to do the cancellation of the festival before the official lockdown started in March. This was quite a difficult situation for the whole team to make this decision. After that, it was planned to have a shortened digital version, a streaming version, which we couldn't do as well because of the whole situation, too many people coming from different places. So at that point, we had to decide what we would do with the content, which we had already prepared, and we had listened through all the 844 tracks and chosen the 15 participants per category. So we felt it was really, really important to still give this platform to the artists and choose the 3 nominees per category and choose a winner in the end. So we had a really fantastic team of the M for Music putting together these different ideas. We also had a wonderful jury for each category who was very patient and very understanding about the situation and was willing to give all the 60 participants a written feedback if they wanted that, because the feedback is basically what we feel is one of the most important things at the live sessions at the festival, that they can get a feedback from professional people, which will hopefully help them even if they don't win the award. And then after that, we chose the 3 nominees per category, and they were asked to do a video of themselves, presenting themselves, their song that they had put in, and what this award would mean to them. And then in the course of April, we released these videos over all of our online platforms on M for Music. And then we had the jury sessions online and chose the winner, and had a professional filmer and photographer go and do a portrait of the winner, and we released these the end of April.
And how was it? What were the positive aspect of switching to online? How was it different, and what did you enjoy?
Well, there were several things which were different, of course. At the festival, it's really embedded in the festival with the conference and the shows, and a lot of people actually being there. There's the live sessions where people can go and also listen to the feedback that the juries give to the artists. It's also a scouting for a lot of agencies, for example, to get to know new music. So we really wanted to still have that aspect of giving this platform and making it possible for people to listen to these acts and for them to get a certain kind of publicity. And I think especially for the nominees and then also for the winners, this was a very positive aspect, because also at the point of the lockdown, there was so much heaviness going on. And I think it was really important also for M for Music as a platform to show that we're continuing, that we're giving this possibility, that they can get a feedback, that they can also, we're reachable. And I thought this was, for me personally, and also for the team, a really wonderful aspect, because we had a very personal interaction with the artists, which we usually don't have time for at the festival in this way. And we're still continuing to working with the winners. So this has been very interesting, a lot of Zoom conversations with them, which is really great. And of course, I think for the media, it was very interesting to have content in this time. There were a lot of streaming platforms, etc., going on, but I think it was still important to have certain institutions really show, hey, we're still supporting the scene, and we're trying to give them this possibility. And I think for all 4 of them, 2 of them coming from the Romandie and 2 of them coming from Swiss German part of Switzerland, that there was this interaction also between each other.
Yes, so if I sum up, you had in a way more contact with your nominees and future winners, a better media buzz, and also did you have the impression that you had a better impact? Because normally when you are live, I mean, M for Music is huge and MUTEK Clinic is a small part of it. So did you have this impression, or is it just me dreaming?
I think it's a different, it's really hard to say. I think also with the media buzz, I think it's a special situation, and I think it's definitely, normally the demo tape clinic is embedded in a festival where there's a lot of other things going on, a lot of other content. So I think the fact that it was just simply just the demo tape clinic certainly was an important aspect in this situation, but it's hard to say if it's better or not. I think there were certain aspects of the festival, of this festival live feeling, which were missed as well, of course. But it was very interesting and important for us to experience this.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. I will now turn to Michael Kinzer. So you've been very busy those last 6 months. Can you explain us briefly what kind of emergency measures you put in place
during this COVID-19 period and after, confinement and after.
Thank you, Elisabeth. Yes, we are. Our role as the Department of Culture is to stimulate the cultural life, to stand by the cultural life, obviously, and obviously also support financially the artists and the organizers. Lausanne is a very strong music city beside other cultural fields with an opera, a chamber orchestra, a lot of artists, a lot of clubs for pop and electronic music, clubbing scene, a jazz club, and several other things. Obviously, we've been awestruck by what happened in last March, which was very hard for us, but especially for the artists and the organizers with the lockdown. And it was very important for us to give a helping hand to the scene, to communicate a lot and to be very close to them, to show them support, to give them a little bit of reassurance and see how we can solve the difficulties together. There's a financial compensation system on the national level which helped the institutions and the artists. It was important for us to bring an additional comprehensive and extensive supporting program on the level of the city of Lausanne, mainly to maintain the scene and maintain the know-how, especially for the specific fields which weren't covered by the federal compensation system. I belong to these people who believe that innovation is something natural for the cultural scene. Innovation can't be forced because of the special conditions we have here, and so it's the most important is to make the people able to continue to do their work correctly. One strong thing that happened is that there was a very strong solidarity between institutions, organizers, and artists. It was something that we also initiated, especially, for example, with the whole summer program, because obviously all festivals and all usual contents have been cancelled, and it was very important for us to show them support, give also additional financial public funding to make things happen, to give the audience again some trust in culture, but also give the artists themselves the opportunity to get back on stage and perform for the audience. We've seen a lot of financial distress, obviously, but also psychic distress in these times for artists after not being able to be close to the audience for such a long time. It was a program which was called Culture Debout, which showcased on 5 different stages plus different special festival modules, concerts, classical music, contemporary music, pop, electronic music. There was also performing arts, comedy, a lot of different things that were proposed, always for free for the audience during the few weeks that were a bit easier on a health level. This proposal to support the artist and give some content to the audience will be carried on, maybe not in the direct coming weeks because the health situation is not that great at the moment, but we will carry that on as soon as it's possible in collaboration with the clubs. It's always important for us not to organize something from the city point of view, but really to collaborate always with the whole scene and to make possible also that these people can work stronger together than they already do on a normal level. 2 other things that we've put in place that will also remain is one mutual fund out of solidarity for cultural institutions, which will be able to collect money when they're doing really great and re-inject the money for the institutions that are doing really bad during this situation. So that's a system over the next 18 months that we will probably carry on afterwards, which will help all institutions to overcome momentary crisis, be it on a financial level or on a structural level. Another fund which we have put in place that will also carry on after the crisis is an investment fund, which is more for private organizers, which are usually not subsidized by public funding, and to allow them to bring production projects from Lausanne artists which are usually not funded, like comedy or pop music. And if the projects are financially cover up over the years, then the money can be reimbursed. And if it was a real risk that didn't come out, then it's considered as a public funding. A lot of other measures that we have put in place, beside also performing arts, visual arts and literature, but also specifically for music, we've put in place also a support for residencies, music residencies, and additional support for touring, because we know that due to frontier difficulties and other organizing financial difficulties, that the conditions for touring will be more difficult, so we will put an additional effort for this. We also support music schools and a lot of other measures.
Okay, so would you say that this period was working a bit like an accelerator? Because I'm thinking especially of this new measure that you put, that was an investment support to producers. That was something you had already in mind, and that you had to throw quickly, or how did it come?
Actually, the two funds which we have put in place were in our pipeline for a while already. It's something that is sometimes more difficult to put in place, also politically, and it did accelerate this possibility, because it was obviously a very specific measure that made total sense in the difficult times that we live now. And so we were able to defend the sense of this measure, and this will and we will be able to carry on with this measure
in the future,
when everything is going back to normal.
It also gives the impression, living in Lausanne, that there was better collaboration between the different musical actors, that clubs were sort of working together or talking with each other. Was it the case?
I think we are in a city, it's 140,000 inhabitants. It's a city which sees the cultural scene already working a lot together. There's very little sense of competition between the different clubs, between the different festivals. Little jealousy, obviously sometimes it exists between very strongly funded institutions and less funded cultural fields. But obviously it did accelerate this possibility, especially for certain fields where we now have a group of people with whom we can talk directly. Especially also the artists, which also got together, which we did initiate, but obviously the situation collaborated with this envy of ours. And that's obviously very interesting for us, but I think also very interesting for the artists or for the different clubs or festivals to be able to have a real dialogue on a permanent basis.
And this real dialogue is taking place online through Zoom, or do you do meetings? It depends.
Obviously, until now we've done it
Zoom.
Not to name a private company, but yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Michael. So I'm now turning to Paul Clement, who is in charge of this resident advisor platform. So it's been also very busy time for you, Paul. Can you maybe briefly explain what your platform is and what you had to change in a very quick time?
Yeah, I guess for those that don't know it, Resident Advisor is a platform that aims to support local scenes in the electronic music space. We began nearly 20 years ago, grew organically, have remained completely independent up until this crisis, never borrowed or owed anyone any money, and effectively grew at a exponential but healthy, manageable rate for every year for the last 20 years. I think if you know it and use it,
What was the way you were bringing the money in your company?
Yeah, so we traditionally, in a classic magazine sense, advertising revenue, partnerships with festivals and things like that. And we, as part of the platform, built an events system. Off the back of that event system being successful, we built a ticketing platform. And ticketing revenue was our primary driver for our growth and stability over the years and independence. We invested a considerable amount of the revenue we earned across the board in our editorial and publishing as a way to help further the development of the industry, cover important stories, support artists, and help expose interesting stories from around the world in the space of
So
electronic
your
music.
platform is also like a web magazine, or?
Yeah, so it's a combination primarily of magazine publishing, news features, films, reviews, and an events and ticketing platform. We were aware that events were a primary backbone of the information we have. There is a lot of data in the system, over 1.5 million events. And I guess a naive view now, but look back at, you would have hoped that when things start to go a little bit the wrong way, you would have some time to correct and adjust your approach. We came to realize that upwards of 95% of our revenue is based on the live event economy.
So you were hit.
So we
badly.
went from healthy for 20 years, every month, forever, to zero.
And how many people are employed by your company?
We were, just before the crisis, about 85 full-time staff, maybe 100 active freelancers and contributors. So we were investing millions in publishing, creating content, supporting the community at a global level. We took a few measures to help avoid the loss of staff. We spent a lot of time projecting financials and all of that boring stuff. But our goal was to effectively survive with a manageable level of debt and the majority of our staff intact. It's been very difficult to see staff that have been with us for 10 plus years leave, some on their own accord and others unfortunate byproducts of this time. And we're still working through that.
So what did you do concretely?
So the work that we did, we launched a series of different initiatives. One, we created a region which we dubbed Streamland for all of the streaming events, different shows, conferences, talks like this one, which previously we weren't listing on the platform. We weren't, our event system was one based on things happening in physical spaces, and we supported streams in various forms. We partnered with Berlin Collective to support this Club Quarantine, a 36-hour live 360 VR sort of stream.
So it was like an online club.
It aimed to represent some of the same feelings of being in a club. They created this great, like, kind of comical, but the concept of chat rooms, but toilet cubicles. They were limited to small capacities, and people were discussing things as this 36-hour stream went on.
And was it successful?
It depends on your definition of success, but I think the thing that I really loved about it was that people were connecting in and via the chat space and social spaces and sharing separate Zoom calls with complete strangers while consuming the stream, which, if you think about how do you replicate aspects of social club experiences, interactions with people you don't know that share the same passions is one of them. And I thought that was a really sweet thing that no one working on the project had really planned, but it was definitely a byproduct of this time. Outside of that, there's a host of things we did. One, we wrote an open letter to aim to help support awareness for the impending disaster that we saw at the very beginning. We supported different campaigns with the advertising inventory we had because we had so much spare, especially around Black Lives Matter, equality, diversity, underrepresentation, things like what happened in Lebanon. And we opened that up to independent and underrepresented groups within the community itself for advertising, free advertising that is. Because of the ticketing platform, we have a ticket scanner. We adapted the ticket scanner to allow for better contact tracing with the places like in Switzerland and in Germany and Berlin at the moment. There's quite a few events happening in some form legally. That's been useful. We launched a subscription service to enable us to continue to publish content effectively. We, as I said, we supported our publishing via ticketing effectively in advertising revenue, but that hasn't been sustainable without the additional revenue we have from that. And we debated over the last few years whether or not we start a subscription service, but we didn't need to. So it helped us effectively at a holistic level reflect on what we do, what we care about, what of the ideas we've had can we adapt, where are we providing real value to the community, and it helped us effectively hone our response with the, in many ways limited resource we have had since some stuff being on different furlough schemes and things like that.
So it was, if I sum up a bit, like back to the basic, like back to the core of what your company is dedicated for.
Yeah, and I think it supporting different campaigns in different parts of the world, with whether it's at a governmental level to put pressure on governments to support cultural institutions, the group in the UK, the NTIA, created a great campaign to help pressure the government into providing more support for cultural foundations. So editorially we were able to support various initiatives like that, and then also really small ones in terms of a label that can no longer survive, or a club or a promoter, or different, I guess, independent groups within the community. And the editorial side of things has been really strong in this time. I mean, people still, need good quality journalism, content, and coverage.
So you improve the quality, even if you didn't have the funding behind.
We're trying, but it's been hard. I mean, we've had the least resource in the editorial space that we have for probably the better part of the last 10 years. So we've been, we've been pushing.
Okay, congratulations for this solidarity move. Thank you. I'm going to move to Alain Mongeau, if he's on the screen. Hi, Alain. Are you there?
I'm there.
You didn't vanish. So, can you explain us, same thing than Paul, a bit, what is MUTEK? It's in 2 words, and then how did you cope with the situation? Because you've just finished an edition of MUTEK Festival.
Yes. I guess we're kind of a case study like so many others. So our anecdote is probably quite universal to what happened to many. And in that sense, I think we're halfway between what Jennifer said on one side and what Michael explained, that you're trying to support. So MUTEK, it's a festival, last year, festival for electronic music and digital arts. Last year was our 20th edition, and it was our most impactful edition also. For us, it was kind of a big deal. We were celebrating 20 years of action in the field and trying to lay ground for a next new third decade of action. So we were, after last year, we were quite motivated and regenerated for another 10 years. And then in March, we hit the same wall as everybody. The festival, the regular dates are end of August. So in March, when the pandemic hit, we were just about to launch the campaign for this year. Usually we do a first announcement of all the international names of the festival, because the festival has 50% of international talent and 50% of local and national talent. So we're about to launch the promotion campaign for this year, and actually, I think it was Audrey, who works at the Label Suisse Festival, who used to be with us, who told us we should wait the announcement a little bit, because I think in Europe you go through you're a bit in the future in relation to what happens in terms of what happens with the COVID here. Everything is a bit delayed. It's maybe 2 or 3 weeks late in relation to what happens to Europe. So she said, I have a glimpse of the future to offer. Wait until you do your announcement to see what happens with the pandemic. So we actually put everything on pause for a few weeks in order to see what was going to happen and to start assessing what we could actually do or not do. So in March, we stopped for about a month and a half and started to monitor the evolution of the situation. And after a few weeks, we decided that we were going to try to do something no matter what. So we made that decision late April, early May. Actually, there's 2 things that we decided then. The first was to switch dates, actually to slide the dates of the festival slightly, because being at the end of August in Quebec, there was a ban on festival that was applied until end of August. So we decided that we're going to change the dates of the festival by just 2 little weeks to escape the ban and hope that the situation or the ban would be lifted. And the second thing we decided was to opt for a format which we call the hybrid format. And now everybody calls their events hybrid. The idea being, let's do something that if we could do it in real life with real public could happen, but if it doesn't, it's not possible to do it in real life with a public, we could at least do something with the artists and do some recordings and stream and let's say project a version of the festival online. So that's what the hybrid notion meant. And I think those 2 intuitions we had, the decisions we made then proved to be quite right, because actually in the course of the summer, the ban on festivals was lifted. So we were able to actually hold the festival in September. And the second thing is we were actually able to have some people in the audience. But by the time that the festival was held, and it was held last week, we were, in theory, it was possible to have up to 250 people inside. But the venues we had chosen, and by applying the social distancing measures, made it so that we could only host between 50 and 100 people in real life. So in the end, we had the festival last week, and what we did was we organized 1 week of events in 2 different venues in Montreal, in which we hosted 30 different performances that were all recorded with multi-camera teams. And all of that content was let's say funneled or onto a platform that we designed specifically for this. So it's the virtual version of the festival.
So you created your own platform.
Our own platform.
Okay.
Yes, because that's another thing we decided to do from the beginning. Again, we have to go back to April, remembering what the panorama was. There was a lot of streaming happening, but very DIY quality, very spontaneous. So the first thing we decided was, if we're going to do some streaming, we want to do high quality streams. So that's why we decided to hire professional teams with multi-cameras. And the second thing we were trying to do is we said we don't want to do just a festival of streamings. We want to do something that would try to create a virtual festival experience. And back then, you know, most of the streamings would be on different social medias like Facebook, Twitch. So we thought we want to have all our content converge on one platform where the public could also converge and interact together. So we designed our own platform.
So how do you, now that the festival is over, how do you estimate this experiment? Was it?
Well, I think all the decisions we made were turned out to be really good decisions. Like to change the festival dates was good because the ban was lifted.
But I mean, the platform that you built online, was it successful? Was it? Did you really have the impression to have make an experimentation online that was hitting something?
Well, as I said, everything we decided to do, I think, was a good intuition. The response we've had was very, very good. The quality of the streams was really appreciated by the virtual festival goers. There was a sense of community experience also on the platform because we had 3 parallel virtual stages. And in each stage, there was a chat room, so people the festival goers would interact, but also some of the artists were actually there interacting among each other and with the public. One thing I have to say is we also, for each performance, each performance was presented 3 times. One for the Montreal and the Americas time zone, a second time for the Japanese and the Asian time zone, and a third one for the European time zone. So there were bits of the communities from all the different time zones interacting together, and that worked very well. So all in all, I'd say, one element I would have to add is, so I said that we had 30 performances in Montreal, and all of that content was placed on the virtual platform, but the 30 performances were only of local artists, but on the virtual platform, we also integrated 25 performances coming from 8 different countries through different partnerships that we had. So on the virtual platform of the festival, we were able to reproduce the international balance that we usually have in real life. So, and that was also very well appreciated because it allowed us to connect to different communities in the world. And that content was provided by...
so internationally it was online, and then nationally it was for real. So that was a positive hybrid experiment. It was also reinforcing the online community. I think we can now, before we switch to the last presentation, have a small teaser on video to get a better perspective of what you did. Thank you, Alain.
Thank you.
So that was the teaser of the last edition of MUTEK, which is just finished. And now I'm going to move to Albane Schlechten, who is known here for FCMA and Swiss Music Export, but who has launched a new project between Switzerland, Belgium, and Canada. And you decided to launch it just before confinement because it was more fun. So how was this experiment?
Exactly, thank you. Yeah, we had this collaborative project together with no Canada, but Quebec with la SODEC and with Wallonie Bruxelles Musique et la Suisse romande named La Cohorte. It's a network of professionals from the music industry to share knowledge and tips about our everyday job. We share also information about export and industry landscape of each region, la grande francophonie. To be more precise, it's not related to a kind of music like chanson francophone, but it's more about our particularities, what we have in common, to be French islands in our respective countries, multicultural countries. And exactly, we were supposed to start in April with the first physical meeting at Le Printemps de Bourges. And we had also in mind to, but for longer term, to host a digital network platform in parallel to come with and between each meeting. The meeting is like showcases festival like Mama or Reeperbahn. There was also an issue about social and sustainable way of doing our job, because maybe it sounds wrong today to go twice a year in Quebec for only a few days. And also we care about the question, which is how to manage both family and work affairs. So the COVID came, and you know what happened after. So we start first our digital project, our digital platform, and we ask a group of 15 people, 5 professionals from each region, to be like a beta test group, and we organize online meeting this last month. And we talk about the situation, how to release artists, tracks, and how to promote those on that condition. Which tools are available to work in that context, and which also data, news, regulations, address, contacts, and everything. And I will do it really fast because to let space to question, but maybe to answer your first question, what we can say now is that we have never spoken so much since we are blocked on our side. Almost every 2 weeks. But I think also with digital tools, it could be more difficult for some to speak, but also easier for some other. So we also learn together how to bring people to participate, to keep using the platform and following the topics and the discussion online, and keep going with the sharing knowledge and the new information coming about every 3 weeks about the situation and how to find new tools to do our everyday job.
Okay. And in terms of contact, was it as easy online as in real life? Because you didn't know each other before the beginning of this project.
Just a bit, but some of the cobayes.
Not all of them. I mean,
not all of them.
The beta group.
No, the Belgian people or Quebecan people. I don't know if it's easier to have contacts, but you have a time, you have a meeting, and everybody is online. So maybe it's easier for the scheduled and the agenda to have a meeting about 15 or 20 people online. And yeah, the information was going really fluidly and.
So, speaking as if life would be normal again, would you keep some of these aspects that you have developed in the future?
Yes, I think it will really be part of our way of working. Like we will do physical meetings again, we hope. But between each meetings, we can keep working with that platform and sharing information, knowledge, and also it can, be a solution for the traveling. Like I don't want to go in Quebec I really love Quebec, but I don't really like to go every 6 months because now I think it's just absurd to go there like this.
Okay, and you, Michael, what would you keep in the future of what you experiment during the last 6 months?
I mentioned a few things that we put in place that will remain in the future.
The 2 phones, yes.
One other thing we put in place a few days after the beginning of the crisis was also an online platform that we knew would have a temporary interest, which where we put a comprehensive platform for the audience to get all the streaming offers from all organizers, might it be museums, live music, theater, performing arts, etc., from the whole French-speaking part of Switzerland. And we knew that would be a very short-term project because people needed this digital cultural content for a few time at that time. But now we are in discussion with the University of Lausanne to have a more curated reflection on this online platform, to think more of an innovation platform for digital content in the future.
And to try to find this hybrid balance between live and online.
Exactly, and one place where interested people and researchers could come and look for the new ways of bringing digital content to the audience.
Okay, great. And you, Paul, what will you keep in the future? Obviously the subscription system to your web magazine?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously hope that subscription service will continue to run and grow over the years. It's not going to sustain us just yet, but there's hope. I think one of the biggest things that we've been debating and reflecting on internally, especially, but also the debate goes wide, is I guess it's easy to look back and think we were quite complacent about the work we're doing, the position we're in, and the challenges that we had at the time. And I think when you break things down, you have a chance to build them back better. There's the ability for opportunity in that. And when you overlay that with the learning and development, especially around dialogue about diversity and systemic racism and Black lives, and a lot of things like that, they create tangible, fixed change that it is then ingrained in what we hope to be the future of the community. Hopefully those that do survive and those that do come out stronger on the other side, but also the new life in the community is maybe more values driven and better for the holistic community at large in our space.
Contributing to a better life in a way. Jennifer, what are your input regarding Demotape Clinic? Do you think there are some aspects that you have developed in this edition that could be kept for the future?
Well, I think there's definitely several things that we can take along from this situation. A lot had to happen so spontaneously in that moment. We're at the moment discussing the scenarios for next year because it's very clear that things will not go back to normality or the normality that we knew as fast as a lot of us would hope, of course. And I think it's just really, really important to have the courage to be creative and to stay creative and to stay a little spontaneous with saying things will change automatically. Things won't, you just don't have that security to plan. But I think there's also a lot of creativity in that situation. And I think for festival makers, promoters, and platforms like the Demotape Clinic, it's really important, to stay creative and be open to do things differently too.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And Alain, through Alain Mongeau in Canada, through this hybrid experiment, what do you think? I know it's a bit too early because you just finished your festival, but is there a few aspects that you think you could keep for the future?
Well, I think, yeah, the thing is for us, this whole idea of going virtual, it's actually going back to something we used to do a lot the first 10 years of the festival. This idea of having a virtual community out there was very strong for us. and we took a bit of distance from, let's say, maintaining the virtual community, because we started to have a network of festivals in different cities. So it's like the virtual community became a real community of festivals. And now going back to virtual is just doing something we used to do before, but doing it with, let's say, a renewed sense of purpose. So I think it's an opportunity to reconnect differently, reinforce our links with the community in a different way. Well, in a way we used to do before, but to do it in a new way, let's say, to renew that kind of link. So even if we go back to normality, which I don't think is going to happen before 3 to 4 years, you know, to get to the same level as we were before is going to take some time. I think the virtual side of things and that connection with the community is something that's going to be again, very central in every kind of move.
Stay. So yes, this idea of reconnecting, going back to the basic. So I thank you all for your contribution.